You know, when you're arguing with someone politely, having a reasonable debate, and then they say something that makes you feel stupid because the argument's so much better than yours. And you actually think, wait, maybe I was wrong the whole time. Maybe you weren't actually wrong. Maybe you just didn't understand what strategy they used to mislead you or what fallacy they used. The word fallacy comes from the Latin word fallere, which means mislead someone. And a fallacy is nothing more than that. A fallacy is a strategy you can use in your speech to mislead people into doubting their own beliefs. And sometimes they just want to make you feel stupid. So here in this video, you can actually learn how to spot what are the most used logical fallacies and how to deal with them in your day-to-day life when you're trying to have a debate, when you're trying to have, like, of course, everything politely, an argument with someone. And there are 9 common logical fallacies that most people use, and they all have like a specific name. But let's just like say 1 to 9 because it's so much easier to memorize, and honestly, it isn't useful to memorize all the names. But I'll say the names, but just don't mind them at all. So fa- the first fallacy people usually use is affirming the consequent. And how does this work? Let's say we are trying to defend a topic and they, like other people, are trying to counterattack our point of view. Okay, so let's pretend that we are talking about rain and they say, well, if if it rains the ground will be wet, therefore if the ground is wet it rained. And this might trick you into actually think like, well, wow, this makes sense, but actually no, because the ground can be wet by a lot of factors. There could rain. It it could have rained a while ago, but someone might just have watered the ground, watered the plant. Someone might cry, might pee on the ground. There are a lot of things that might happen. So A does not imply B. Now, if A is B, A does not imply B. You know, another example for that would be, well, if people that go to gym are strong, then people who are strong go to gym. Okay, so this is another way for you to can think it. Not actually. People can just be genetically strong. People can have manual labor jobs such as bricklayers, such as all those people who do like they work on the sea and the boats and they have to carry like that heavy ass boxes and stuff. This is the first one. The second one is the opposite. It's denying the antecedent. Okay, and it is assuming that if A leads to B, then A implies not B. And what does it mean? Let's go. If it rains, the ground will be wet. It didn't rain, therefore the ground is not wet. Again, this is an example that might trick you, but if you actually think, yeah, okay, so if it rains, the ground is wet. Okay, that is an affirmation. It isn't 100% correct, but let's work with that. And then this person says, the ground, hold up, it didn't rain, therefore the ground is not wet. That is not actually it. Again, denying the antecedents and affirming the consequent are very like playful tricks. You can like fool someone, but if they have critical thinking, then they can actually see what you're doing, and you can use this if you like encounter someone who usually have this kind of arguments. The third one is ad hominem, and this is pretty common mostly nowadays because when people are trying to debate, they don't want to see who has the best arguments. They just want to emulate the other person to trying to look cooler on the cameras or in the social circle. Ad hominem is when you try to attack, like you try to passively aggressively attack someone. For example, if I say, "Oh well, everyone that I don't know, everyone that goes to the gym is actually smart, and if you disagree with me, you are stupid." So, what are we saying in this example? We are saying that everyone that disagrees with our point of view, therefore, everyone who disagree with us is stupid. But we are not actually using an argument right here. We are just attacking someone passively, and they might think, oh yeah, actually, if I disagree, I may actually be stupid, so they won't disagree with you. So this is a very common trait. Actually, people who use it are just fucking like dumbasses because they have no actual arguments to say it. But just be aware, this is very common, mainly in universities and high schools, where you have like this debates, I don't know, when the lunch time or when you're just trying to have a group conversation. The fourth one is strawman, and it is misrepresenting someone in a attack manner. For example, if we say people should go more often to the gym to get healthier, and they just say to us like, "Oh, so you're saying that everyone who doesn't go to gym is not healthy?" Like, no, that's not what we said. But again, this is another very common thing to say because you are misrepresenting someone, and you are saying that you are trying to say they are trying to say what we said in a different way that makes us look bad. There is a very good example of that on a Jordan Peterson interview. I don't remember who was the journalist he was talking to, but a lot of people realized that she was trying to mislead people into thinking that Peterson said something that he actually didn't. I'll link the interview on the description just to make it easier for you to understand. But again, this is very common to use. People who use it usually they have no idea what they're talking. They're just trying to humiliate you to to get like I don't know high status. Even though high status is a good thing to have, not when you're using the wrong ways. Even though 48 rules of power would disagree with me, but we will get into that later. Not this video, but anyway. The fifth is appeal to ignorance. And this is basically saying that the lack of evidence prove or doesn't prove something. So, for example, let's say, yeah, let's pretend that we are trying to debate someone about I don't know aliens, and and they might say, well, there is there isn't a proof that aliens doesn't exist, therefore they exist. So this is just saying that if you don't have proofs, I can be wrong. I may be right. And if you don't have proofs of the opposite, you are wrong or you are right. So this is basically, like in criminology, when people say, well, you cannot until there are enough proofs to say the opposite, I am innocent. And this is basically it. And a lot of people, mainly on the law world, they use it a lot. If you see a lot of genuine lawyers talking to their clients and talking to the judge, a lot of people say that the lack of evidence doesn't prove or doesn't ignore certain factor. The lack of evidence, the only thing it does is make everything more confused. So if anyone goes to you and say, well, there are not any proofs that God is real, therefore God is not real, like, no, that's not how it works. You cannot prove something using the lack of evidence, because then your argument is based on something that doesn't actually exist. The sixth One is called false dilemma. And this is when you present someone with two options, but there are actually like, I don't know, four or five options. Let's say I come with you, I look you in the eye and say, you were either with us or you are without us, black or white. And sometimes this may be true, sometimes actually this kind of stuff should happen. But if someone is trying to use it in a demeaningful, in a way to make you look bad, then whoa, maybe they're trying to use a false dilemma to trick you into thinking that you are a bad person or you're a good person because you only have two options. But actually, if you just think a little bit, you can say, wait, what? No, you're completely wrong. I can agree with some points of what you're saying and disagree with another ones. So be very aware of all these kinds of with, without, always, never, you, me, against this very hard words like you either love or you either hate something. No, you can like something, you can dislike but not hate something. This is the kind of stuff that false dilemma actually tries to put in a debate. And the seventh one is very common, like a slippery slope, and it is saying that, oh yeah, one little small change on your beliefs will lead you to a completely different way of thinking. For example, if we say, if we allow students to redo their assignments, next they will want to retake entire courses. Like, no, that's not how it works. This is basically the same thing and saying, oh yeah, if we let a boy push his friend, then he will think he is able to, I don't know, murder everyone. There are no consequences before, after that. But like, no, what the fuck? How did you actually came to this point? This kind of slippery slope that that people use it in a day-to-day basis. Sometimes we use it as well, like unconsciously. But we have to be very aware of this, very mindful, because we can actually trick people, like people who are not intelligent enough to understand, like we are, right? Because we are studying this, we are trying to figure out how to spot these logical fallacies. But like the people who doesn't care at all about like intellectuality and stuff, they will never ever be able to counter this kind of slippery slope because they don't actually understand what what is happening on the conversation. The 80th, 80th, the eighth, I think it's 80th reason, the 80th logical fallacy is circular reasoning. And this is pretty basic. This is something I think we unconsciously learn how to do when we are kids. And when the conclusion used is a premise, for example, we can trust news because they report accurately. Like, no, again, no, that's not how it works. We cannot trust something just because we have a premise. It's the same thing as saying, oh yeah, I will trust my mom because she never lied to me. Again, no, you're you're basing, right? You're using the base of your argument in something that doesn't actually exist. It's just a premise. Like, well, my mom will never lie to me, therefore I can trust her. Like, no, sometimes parents lie and it's totally normal. Sometimes they even lie to protect us. Sometimes they lie just to harm us. But again, I don't think it's the case for most people. And you have to be very aware of that because when people use premises that you believe yourself, you may actually be tricked into believing they are right. So that's why when you are trying to be like more of this academic, intellectual person, you have to understand that you must doubt everything you see. Everything around you might not be true. So be very aware of that, okay? And the last one is hasty generalization. And this is just like generalizing everything. And this is like an example. You can actually say like, oh, I met two, I don't know, I have two Asian friends who are like freaking amazing. They're the best in math. Therefore, every single Asian is good at math. This is, I think this is like, this is common sense. This is just generalizing in the most stupid way possible. So just be aware of the fact that someone might be actually be generalizing something. So these are the nine most common logical fallacies. And now, how can you spot them? Because it is actually hard to do it when we are having a debate, when you're arguing with someone, because conversations happen very quickly. We say something, they say something, we say something, they say something, we say something, they say something. Sometimes we even talk on top of each other and it may be kind of confused. And sometimes on the silence, they can actually use one of these logical fallacies because they can see that there is a weak spot on your speech. So how do you actually spot it? Well, you just need to be very mindful. You just need to be very aware. You must be careful because every single word they say is something that you can use to make a hook and understand what they're trying to say. So break down the argument they're trying to use and think to yourself, okay, are they trying to say something that's not true? Are they trying to do a slippery slope? Wait, did they just attack me? Like, did he just passively attack me, saying that if I disagree with them, I'm not being like science based? This is very hard to do, and how do you improve it? You just practice more. You just go to more debates, you talk to more people, and you try to be every single day more mindful than you were yesterday. Also, you can ask them questions. If someone says, for example, oh yeah, my mom never lies to me, therefore I can trust her. So you say, are you sure? Ask them questions, open questions. There are two kinds of questions: closed questions and open questions. Closed questions are the ones you use with simple answers: yes or no, correct or wrong. These are like zero and ones in the computer language, like Boolean, like a Boolean system. Open questions are the ones where you allow the other person to say a lot of things and trying to build a good logic of argument. And sometimes when they use these logical fallacies, they cannot keep it for too long because then they understand that they made a mistake on their way of thinking. And also, the last thing, check for assumptions. If they are trying to assume something, you have to be very careful of that because in this heat of the debate and you're having fun trying to like use their brain to have different ideas of conversation, you must understand that you have to always check if they're not assuming something or they're not using something you assume it's true to manipulate you into believing that they're wrong. So we gotta be very careful with that. And then how do you actually deal with this? Well, this is pretty simple. First, you point out what they're doing, and this is just a almost a win for you because when you just say to someone, "Wait, you just you, you just assumed something." Well, wait, in this sentence of yours, you just attacked me because you're saying that if I disagree with you, I'm stupid. This is a logical fallacy. And when there are more people, this is very, very, very good when there are more than two people in a debate. But this is also good when you are in a one-on-one debate, okay? Because people around actually realize that, holy shit, yeah, we are actually right. Like this guy right here just destroyed her or just destroyed him in the debate because he just pointed out that he or she they use a logical fallacy. And then you not just point out, you explain the fallacy. You can, if you remember correctly, you can repeat the sentence and break it down logically, very detailedly. And then this person, one, if they use it like unconsciously, it's okay, but don't try to humiliate them. If they just actually try to use it like to misinterpret misinterpret, to like make misinterpretation about you, you can actually use this in future arguments. And last but not least, you provide evidence. You actually say, oh yeah, so this is what happened, and this is why you may think you were right in the first place, but maybe you're just assumed something. And there is an actual step, and that is you must put yourself open to debates. You must go into social groups, into any place. You can have very good debates, not debates about like, oh yeah, let's talk about ass or boobs. No, this kind of stuff is just stupid. But you must be willing to go to places with different minded people. If you are, I don't know, left wing, try to go to a right wing space and actually debate with them. If you're pro choice, try to find pro life people. If you think like, oh, this movie is better than this book, like, yeah, try to go to this kind of environments, this opposite environment, and try to have very good and very deep debates with a lot of different people, with a lot of different ages and a lot of different topics, then I'm sure you will be able to master at least this part of debate, and that is when people try to mislead you into thinking you're wrong, even though we are right. Ciao, goodbye.